Hello, Kryptonauts, and welcome back to another episode of Cryptocurrency Chat, episode 472, the last Wednesday of 2022. Yes, it is December 28th, 2022. I'm your host, Blockchain John, here with my co host, Jake Jabarelli, ready to give you the crypto news of the day. But before we do that, wasabi, Jake.
Wasabi. No, it's wasabi. That's right. It's such an old joke. It's been an interesting day. I won't go into details, but it is, yeah. I feel the pain of all these companies that are failing. So it is as not as present as people who've lost hundreds of millions of dollars, but it's on a similar scale, tens of hundreds of dollars.
Mm-hmm. All right,
So
let's head on over to the first one if you don't mind taking that.
yeah. I was really enthusiastic about this. We're getting most of our news today from Decrypt, and our favorite authors, in particular Andrew Hayward, writes an article called Nouns. That's the name of the NFT series. Nouns Ethereum NFTs will appear in the 2023 Rose Parade. That's this Sunday. I love the Rose Parade because I've been involved with it for so long in my life. I used to live down in really close to Pasadena in Southern California. Anyway, so Seth Green's production company built a nouns inspired float and costume characters for next week's pre Rose Bowl festivities. So they're going to be putting these characters from the Nouns NFTs series into the parade as walking, you know, costume characters. But I just think it's because NFTs have struggled so much lately. It's great to see a project making such a huge presence in this particular activity because it's like it Board API. Oh, my bad. I made that way too loud. Um, uh, I'm just enthusiastic about NFTs, even though NFTs are just pictures. I had a rant perfectly lined up for this. I was going to do it when we started streaming earlier, just so it would be on record. But the whole point I wanted to make about NFTs is like nobody really barks about the concept of a person who owns a really famous painting. So let's say you had a Van Gogh, that wasn't in a museum, and it's worth, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. An original, right? Anybody can take a print, right? You could take a picture of a Van Gogh in the museum and blow it up and put it on your wall. And yet everybody, when they talk about NFTs, is like, well, boy, you own a picture. Who cares? Yeah. Let's say you own the Mona Lisa. Who cares? Oh, everybody cares. Why does everybody care? Because it's famous. Because it's for some reason it's this valuable thing. No one person owns the Mona Lisa. It's in the Louvre. It's owned by the French government. But what I'm saying is, it's not about the picture. It's about the rights to the picture. That's what NFTs are. And because NFTs, unlike paintings themselves, or photos or whatever, can be transferred around indefinitely, of course, like a digital document. Of course, you can have a print. You can have a print of any NFT. I can have every single Bored Ape Yacht Club if I want. I don't want them because I think they're ugly. But I can have a print of it, but I can't own the original. And the cool thing about this is, even though the Mona Lisa itself, if you could possibly own it, or a Van Gogh or something, or a Degas or something, whatever the painting is of course you can have a print of it. But having the original is the prestige of saying you have something original. But the cool thing about this is the value of the coin connected to that blockchain can fluctuate, can go up and down in value, which means that the value of your painting can go up, or your picture or your portrait or whatever the image is, the NFT itself can go up and down or can change value. But it can also change value based on the thing itself. So if it happens to be like a Beeple, then yes, it's going to be worth a lot more, or maybe not. But because the coin itself changes price, it can also change value there too. And I think that's fascinating. Unlike the value of the dollar, which rarely changes, at least not over a long, long, long period of time, it does. So to me, people getting all up in arms about, oh, you can have a print. Yes, you can have a print of the Mona Lisa. You can't own the Mona Lisa, but you can have a print of it. Same thing with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So with these nouns, I'm just really hyped about the idea of it getting more out into the public. Not because they're necessarily going to make a ton of money on it, which they probably will, but because it's bringing up the efficacy of NFTs, the purpose, the point, the excitement, the validity. And the one thing I think you and I talked about, John, at one point was you found an artist in San Francisco when you were at your annual meeting with your club. And you said, well, you wanted to help that person get their art into NFT format to help them sell it. And I think this is what all art should be. I mean, the more we can have art sites, I'm trying to think of the one I was using for the longest time. I can't think of the name of it, but let's just pick any named, a site where you can post your own art. You need to be able to make. Oh, I know what it was. It was Phone. I was using the Phone app. That's Phone, and I can post whatever art I want there and make an NFT out of anything. You don't know what art's going to be valuable in the future. You may as well make an NFT out of every single piece of art that you make, or if you're an artist, make an NFT out of it, so that at some point you can get secondary fees off of all the resales. Right now, if someone sells your art in the open market, even though you know it's yours, you don't get anything for it. With NFTs, you do. So I'm really excited about this. Sorry about the rant,
I'm
but
surprised that the Bored Ape Yacht Club actually didn't end up in the Rose Parade. I mean, considering how well they did this year.
well, yeah, they did do pretty well. But this is actually a deliberate, thing. They actually made a Rose Parade float with Rose
Well,
Parade
well,
characters.
they so the Studio Buddy Studios, I guess they did a fundraiser of 610 ETH, which I
Yep.
think at the time
It's
they
about a
did it
million.
when they that's $1 million, but now in present time it's a lot less than that.
About three-quarters of a million
But
now.
yeah, that was enough for them still to get it out. I mean, come on now, does it really cost a million? Mm, I see it being in the hundreds of thousands, but I don't know
No,
about a million.
they said it in the article. They said 610 ETH is worth about $725,000 today. So
Yeah, yeah. But even then, something like this really cost a $500,000.
to build a float, yeah, it could easily be that much. Um, back
Okay.
it
I have no experience in building floats.
they're pretty complicated. I went to Cal Poly for a short number of years, and yeah, it can definitely be expensive. But I'm just really excited. I mean, yes, it's another promotional thing.
And apparently the nouns have also been in the Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. Sorry, it's not my thing.
no,
But they do have commercials, and the commercials are very popular,
very popular, very
and the
expensive.
nouns are on there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I'm excited about another promoted NFT series, and it's funny because I'm only gonna bring up the Trump thing just real briefly here. Is Trump sold out of his NFTs already, and they're already worth 3 to 4 times what the original asking price was. So it's it comes down to promotion, marketing, and somewhat to some degree with cloud. And at that point, you realize that the whole thing about NFTs is not really just about clout and just about making money, but it is a digital asset that, like the Mona Lisa, in the sense that it is unique, can be uniquely identified, and there is value in that. So, especially if there's only a certain number of things and everybody wants one. A lot of people want to try to implement NFTs because they're mocking him. But Board Ape Yacht Club, there's only 10,000 of them. If you happen to have one, then you must have paid a lot of money for it, else you stole it. So,
And next article we got from
also from
Decrypt
Decrypt.
once again. This
Yeah.
one's about the Gemini twins. Sounds like they're in some hot water because they're now being sued. If you guys don't know, the Winklevoss twins have actually been in crypto space since pretty much since the beginning.
Yep.
In the
Yeah.
early days, they bought Bitcoin, hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, pennies to the dollar. Um, and yeah, they're sitting on a bunch of Bitcoins, and they created an exchange, centralized exchange, called Gemini. And now they're being sued in regards to their high yield earn products, of course, because they're providing that service there in on their platform. And now there's a lawsuit going on. So. Yeah.
Main reason was that they were involved with 3 Arrows Capital,
Mhm.
and when 3 Arrows went down and took some of their capital with them, and they're like, well, that section of their business is now out of commission and unavailable, and it's not directly their fault, and they can't. I mean, they're being sued because it's their business. They made the guarantees and made it possible for people to do this high yield, sadly, ironically, not possible thing. Same thing with FTX and Celsius, these Ponzi schemes that we've been facing. When it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to handle this some way. I mean, it's not like they have no money, and will they be
So
able to
so
deal with it?
last month they ended up suspending the withdrawal services for certain key partners. Obviously, in regards to the contagion with FTX and Alameda Research,
Right.
no, they just don't know. There's obviously, like I said, way at the beginning when this whole debacle happened with FTX when they collapsed, their tentacles go through just about everything. So
Mm-hmm.
it's better to be safe than sorry, and that's currently where they're at.
Yeah.
And now that they're freezing assets, they're being sued for that.
Yeah, but
So,
the main thing is that Genesis itself and the digital currency group DCG owe their users almost $1 billion.
yep,
Do
yep,
do the Winklevoss twins have $1 billion to cover their losses?
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do.
They probably do.
Yeah.
So, per the article, in their complaint, the investor said that Gemini refused to honor any further investor redemptions, effectively wiping out all investors who had still had holdings in the program. So it's kind of like, I can see why these people are angry. They're like, hey, that's our money. We invested. You guys gave us certain guarantees, and you're not holding true to them. Now, I understand, as I said before, the reason that the Winklevoss are probably not happy about this is that it's like, well, it's not directly our fault for the failure of these other companies, but it's like, well, if you make a representation and you do not follow through, you're at fault, not the other company. What I used to say was, when I was working in customer service, the problems of the company are not the fault of the customer. It's the fault of the company. The company has to deal with it. And yes, it's annoying, but you were making money off them, so it works the other way too.
Yep, 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 yep. Right, on to the next news article we have, and from
North
once
Korea.
again.
Yeah, so also from Decrypt, Jason Nelson writes the article, North Korea-linked Lazarus Group poses as VC firm to spread malware. Cybersecurity Kaspersky says Blue Noroff's newest malware can circumvent the Markov Web, or MOTW, security measures. This is a this is really bad.
The Lazarus Group's been around for a long time. They are a very powerful North Korean hacker group,
Yeah,
and they've
highly
pretty much
active.
been hacking all along since the early days up until now, and they just keep getting stronger and stronger. I would say they are in my opinion, they are the number one best hacking group out there in the world.
I don't know. Anonymous might have something to say about that, but
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know if Anonymous hacks like that. Like the way Lazarus Group is here to make money. They're always hacking different exchanges, different DeFi. Well, yeah, DeFi, and now they're out here making malware.
making trouble. Yeah, well, as they always do, right? They're the arm of it's the cyber arm of North Korea. So yeah, this Blue Noroff company is fake, or it's a real company, but it's a fake company in the sense that it is a real company in the sense of it has a name and a website. But I mean, that could be anybody. I could have a name and a website, and not be a company. But they're making all these fake domains, impersonating venture capital companies and banks, and honestly, they're just trying to do whatever they can to steal as much money as possible from everywhere else in the world.
Hmm. They've
Because
already made $1.2 billion just hacking.
yeah,
It's 2017.
yeah, it's kind of a, and we look at hacking as this other thing that's not at the level of a hot war, as it were, hot war like that's going on in Ukraine right now. In Ukraine war, it's like, well, people are dying. It's like, hey, Yes, I will say that hacking doesn't often cause people to directly explicitly die. It does happen. It's just rare. What ends up happening is your assets get stolen or your money gets stolen, or things that have to do with digital currency or digital assetry. That stuff gets so. Does that kill you? Probably not. But does it hurt? Yeah, of course it hurts. A lot more things are moving digital, and a lot more people are not still looking at digital as substantial, even though it quite literally is. And I want to make a correlation here just as a comparative tool. John and I have talked a lot about CBDCs coming to the United States. And that's not having to do with cannabis. We're talking about central bank digital currencies. The thing we're worried about with the CBDC is that gives the government full control over every unit of fiat, not fiat, but unit of currency that a person has in their possession. And our worry about this is that it's making everything digital. Well, we already know that almost everything is already digital. Yes, you can still use US dollar bills to buy things, but at least for John and I know particularly when using tap to pay on a regular basis, you don't even see the dollars anyways. If you work for a company, those dollars go digitally to the bank that you use, and then you use them digitally to pay for the things that you pay for. So is it really all that different from at least a crypto-based or a coin-based system? At the moment, you or the bank controls your money, even though technically it's U.S. dollars all the U.S. dollars belong to the people of the U.S. But the newer cryptocurrency systems still have validity. They still have substance. They still have functions. They're still tools. They're just not green folding paper or physical coins like they used to be. And the whole point of this, as we well know, is the ease of transmission. You can easily move money from place to place if it's digital, right? Because the internet has no bounds. This is the reason that what was the name of the island country that was it Easter Island that had their power knocked out, and that they used cryptocurrency to get back online really quickly? Remember we reported on that?
Yeah, it's a while ago. I don't recall.
Well, it might have been American Smo. I can't remember where it was exactly. But the reason I find this fascinating is because they went to crypto because it was helpful. It was quick. Their banking system was out of commission, and they used crypto. It got there instantaneously. It's the same thing with donating to Ukraine. They needed money, and their traditional banking systems were down or unavailable. So we sent all kinds of different cryptocurrencies to them to support them. And this can be done in all kinds of ways. And it's so much faster and more simple. This is the whole point of Bitcoin and the concept of cryptocurrency in general, was that it was circumventing the traditional methodologies. And this is the problem I'm making the point. So even though Blue Noroff and or Lazarus Group is hacking all these things, it's making people go, wow, this actually is substantial. Yes, it always has been. It was just a different system before, and now we're changing to this new system. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means you need different security. So,
Continue on with the article. I wanted to mention this. Imagine you're an aspiring dev that just finished schooling or whatnot, or just have 10, 20 years of experience. Now you want to get into the crypto space. Just imagine that for a moment. Yeah. Okay. Now you start looking over at big companies like Coinbase and Crypto.com, and you start to look at what they're doing, and obviously they're hiring. Cool. You click on their link, and their link says, "Hey, yeah, go ahead and download our open vacancies PDF file." And so, of course, you're going to do that. This is obviously all a trick, right? It's not sophisticated by any sense. It's more of just an illusion, right? It's to lead you to do that, and it makes sense because you're applying for the job, right? As a dev, it's like, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to click this and see what the terms and conditions are. This position, you download that PDF file, and boom, you're done. Because you just technically downloaded a Trojan horse made by the Lazarus Group that steals your personal information and your
or
identity.
locks your
Yeah,
computer, or holds you hostage, or does all kinds of nefarious things.
it's not in the sense that it's complicated where they're directly hacking you. They're making you do all the work,
Yeah.
right? And of course, you're thinking that you're doing the right thing, but in reality, So be careful what you download out there.
Well, this
And,
is.
and speaking of that, that's what terrifies me about NFTs. Because technically you can upload a Trojan horse to an NFT. If you start downloading that file, to keep it locally on your hard drive,
Hmm.
mm, technically downloading the Trojan horse.
Well, I mean, this is one of the things we
It's
faced.
forever on the blockchain.
One of the things we faced in the early days of Napster and Kazaa, which I was a participant in, was when I mean
I'm wired.
I'm not saying that. Oh yeah, LimeWire was another word. eDonkey 2000. There was a lot of bunch of different companies out there that existed for this purpose. But you didn't know what you were getting until you finished the download and recognized that it was either a zip file, an executable file, a WAV file, or a movie file. And I can tell you, as a Kazaa node, for the years that well, it wasn't years, like 9 months or something, but for the time that I did it, there were a lot of people mislabeling movies as other movie names on a regular basis. And I know this still happens in the Tor network on a regular basis, but it's like, do you know what you're getting? You don't know what you're getting until you're done with it. Hopefully you can scan the file when it's coming, but maybe then you can. How do you know? You don't. So I guess one way of doing it is what we were talking about earlier, is using a VM. If you're really skeptical about what you're downloading or getting from a file, just use a VM. And if it corrupts the VM, it doesn't matter. It's not your actual computer. Well, continuing on.
Continuing on. All right, we got this one from Liam J. Kelly, once again from Decrypt. What would crypto look like without centralized exchanges like FTX? Yeah, that's a good question. That means no more sex and more DEX.
Yep.
So that's what that means
Primarily at the core of it.
at the core. So FTX crisis has put even more heat on centralized crypto exchanges. What if they all went away entirely? You gotta leave only DeFi, DeFi or decentralized exchanges. Well, first of all, I honestly, in my opinion, it's going to be a little more complicated for people. No,
For
it's
normies.
there's going to yeah, normies. There's going to be resistance to learn the technology
Yes.
to onboard onto that. And so I was actually having this conversation earlier last week with William. Shout out to William out there that we were talking about this, and it was in regards to the whole FTX collapsing and is Binance really backed 1-to-1? And if it's not, is it going to collapse? And I said, you know what? You pretty much have to take the word of CZ, just because we don't have the insight of what's technically on their books. Even with the whole proof of reserves, it's still not enough information to really prove that you own all that stuff, right? You
Right.
currently have it in possession.
Right.
Um, and I told them that I would a part of me wants centralized exchanges to stay because it's nice to have that ease of use on ramp for people that don't know how to use decentralized exchanges or DeFi, right?
Well,
Good for
but
them just to convert stuff from there into crypto.
in a
If
sense, go ahead. Sorry.
if centralized exchanges end up collapsing, FTX and maybe Binance, and all that leaves is the other side, which is DeFi and decentralized exchanges. You got to learn how to use those. There's a couple more steps. There's going to be some resistance on there, but it gives you the ultimate custody of your coins. As the whole idea behind crypto is that you want to be able to hold your coins. Using centralized exchanges means they're not your coins.
Right.
Period. There is no if, ands, or buts. But once you deposit them, they're technically not yours. Period. There's no discussion about. There's no debate about that. Period. We know this from experience. We've invested a bunch of our coins on Celsius, and they're all locked up. Can't get them out.
Nope. Now you
Good
can
from-
you can with there's Atomic Dex, which I've used, and then there's Atomic Wallet, which I've also used and still do. And I like Atomic Wallet because you get to hold the coins yourself, and you can still earn staked value. So this is what people are turning to.
Using DeFi, right?
Yeah, Atomic Wallet using DeFi to stake coins, just like you would with like Cosmos. Cosmos, it's your coin. It's your coins. You're basically holding in something like I use the Kepler wallet, but you could use it in like MetaMask or Trust Wallet. It's your stuff still. You control the keys, which means that you can, at any time you wish, take that money out. So this is what we're moving
So you
towards.
said, so you said, what was it? You said which wallet was it?
The Kepler
It was
wallet.
Atomic.
Oh yeah, I know
Atomic.
I use Atomic Wallet because it's a non-custodial wallet that I have all the keys to. They're my private
The
keys. I
wallet
can
I want,
go ahead.
the wallet I want to plug in there is Trust Wallet.
Trust, yeah,
Pretty much
that's another one.
I mean, even Coinbase Wallet have a non-custodial wallet
Hmm.
out there, and even Binance. Well, Binance
And
is
Binance
Trust
has their
Wallet. Which
own.
other
Yeah,
one?
they do have a wallet that you can use.
Which is another one? There's another one here. Let me check my phone real quick. Let's see.
Ledger's another one.
Coin. I think Qcoin has one.
Qcoin, yes, they have their own wallet. Yeah, so there's a lot of
Yeah. So
different
pretty much
non-custodial wallets.
yeah, pretty much any wallet you want to check them and see if they have a DApp option on there. You
Hmm.
know, to access decentralized products or services on there.
Yep.
That's the way to go. So download those wallets, check them out. They have the dApps available, or what looks like a web browser, which you
Hmm.
can plug in any dApp on there, and just interact with it with your wallet.
It's the same thing with like
That's great.
MetaMask is one of the original wallets that has a lot of different chains that you can connect to it, and then like with Binance Smart Chain in particular, which was one of the first secondary chains after Ethereum that MetaMask supported. And I got into it so early on that it was still janky as all get out because it was not easy to follow or understand. It's still not easy to follow, but it's nice because you get to keep those coins in your own on the chain as long as you have your own private key. Then you control it. And yes, you can invest, but it's still you can take it out whenever you like, assuming it's still up there. Now, I will say, like we were talking about PooCoin.app, PooCoin will help you find out if a smart contract is illegitimate, if it's just a honeypot. But things like Pancake, which have been around for a long time, or Bunnycoin, which have been around for a very long time, those ones, although they could be rug pulled in a sense, have so many people involved with them. I don't think it would be possible to really easily evacuate those markets.
I just want to read this last paragraph
Good.
here at the bottom. It says, concluding, next year will offer tons of business opportunities for crafty entrepreneurs who find unique ways to tackle each of these problems or more than one of them at the same time. As former Netscape CEO Jim Barksdale said, there are only two ways to make money in business: bundling and unbundling. Boom.
Right. All right. Moving on to venture capitalist and $6 billion man Mark Cuban,
Cuban.
who is doubling down on Bitcoin while dissing gold. Shark Tank host also said he wants Bitcoin's price to fall more so he can buy more. Just like that's it. Same way we feel.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anybody wasn't already aware, lately Bitcoin has fallen to the point where I think the article makes mention that compared to gold, gold last year was worth about $1,800. Gold this year at the same time is worth about $1,800. And the difference between Bitcoin last year at this time and Bitcoin this year at this time is, a huge difference compared to gold. And so it basically points out that if you invest in gold at that price last year, you'd still have about the same amount of gold this year, at the same time this year. And instead of Bitcoin, which was like $70,000 and has only 16, about 1/5 of its price previously. So it's, yeah, you definitely would have lost money, and yet Mark Cuban is saying the heck with gold. The reason that Bitcoin is better is because it's like digital gold, and even though there is a digital gold coin out there, crypto coin rather, the advantage with this in particular is that it's much more, what's the word I was thinking of before, liquid. It's liquid in the sense that it's much more easy to move. You don't have to go through banks. You can, but you don't have to. You can even trade Bitcoin directly to other people, and a lot of people will just accept it. Whereas with gold, not so easy. Like, can you take a 1 ounce, or even a much smaller than that, because 1 ounce is $1,800 right now. But let's say a fractional ounce fleck of gold to the grocery store and buy your groceries? No. Can you buy it with Bitcoin? Well, not at every grocery store, but some. If you use BitPay, you can use the transaction, and they'll let you pay it as if it was really the fiat currency of choice. Can you take gold to a car dealership and give them a bar of gold for a car? you might be able to do that with like a used car dealership, but they're still going to want to know where that gold came from in case it was stolen. So there's a lot of things that gold can do in the sense of it being a store of value, but there's a lot of things gold can't do. You can't really trade things for gold, but you can trade a lot of things for Bitcoin. So, and you can invest in Bitcoin. There are ETFs, maybe not. I'd say the U.S. doesn't have any ETFs for Bitcoin right now, right? But even though they've been asking for them, but there are in other countries there are ETFs for futures, yeah, for Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin has a lot more adaptability, a lot more liquid functionality. Even though the price has gone down, and yes, you would have lost money, it's still doing better in effect and in function than gold really ever has. So I can see why he's slamming gold in this sense. I mean, they're overblowing it because it makes it sound more efficacious when you say he's dissing gold. I'm sure Mark Cuban owns gold, and probably a lot of it, but probably a lot more Bitcoin because it's much more fluid and movable than gold is. I mean, gold's heavy, right? And it's malleable. I mean, it's almost better to put it in your electronics than just hold on to it. So,
Last news of the day. We have coming in from CoinDesk.com. FTX users sue for priority repayment and damages in bankruptcy proceedings. Go figure. Yes, it's here. It's finally here. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised.
No.
Of course, there was going to be a class action lawsuit against FTX. Why not? And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to come, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's.
I think there was even nations trying to sue. Oh no, was it FTX? There's so many companies that went belly up. That there's a lot of 2022 is the year for companies collapsing. There's a lot of class action lawsuits going on out there. So that's pretty much what this was talking about. A group of FTX users are asking a U.S. court to make sure that they are the first to get repaid in the crypto exchange bankruptcy proceedings filed Tuesday. So it makes you wonder, who are these people? Why are they demanding to be paid first? Now, what do you say, Jake?
Well, I mean, I don't know these names at all, but they are obviously people who have enough money to even file a serious class action lawsuit. But most likely they are high dollar value plaintiffs that are interested in getting their money because they're like, well, I mean, if you were a person who put in, let's say, $50 million. I mean, we know even Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, didn't put that much money into FTX. But if you were a person who put in $15-20 million into FTX, you're going to want to get your money out first because it's usually people with that kind of money aren't putting all their money into something that big, but it's still going to be a huge chunk.
Remember that FTX still has $8 billion unaccounted. Well, it's accounted, but they have access to that because that was, quote unquote, hacked when this whole thing happened.
Right. So huge amount of money went out the door.
Yep.
Before it could be accounted, and it was said to have been stolen, but like so many rug pulls before, it really is most likely just because it was interestingly convenient, right? We see this happen, and then suddenly everything's stolen. Why didn't it get stolen before? Why wasn't it stolen a year ago?
Exactly. And just to find out, and I'm sure that this is going to be brought up too on the record, with a built-in backdoor or even God mode services. That's been mentioned, but hasn't been brought up officially on record.
Yeah.
Yeah. They what happened was let me think. Well, you know what? I shouldn't even get into FTX details.
We don't have to talk about it, but yeah. So them's the news for the last time of our last episode of 2022. We will be doing again probably Sunday or Monday this coming week for the beginning of 2023. We would like to say a shout out to the people who donated to us yesterday. Thank you very much for donating. We appreciate that. We always appreciate every donation when they come in. We've just recently added the Evermore asset-aware wallet address to our coin tree. If you want to get your own coin tree, they're all free. Sponsored by Naomi Brockwell, who is a huge crypto advocate. So you can donate in many different formats here: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Raven, Ever, Doge, Tron, Litecoin, Monero, Bat, Binance, Smart Chain, or Matic. You can also check us out on Discord, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Spotify, as well as listening to our Anchor podcast, anchor.fm. You can donate also to other things like Coinbase and Cash App. There is also crypto. If you didn't already know, Cash App has crypto. So does Venmo. I recently found that Venmo has crypto. That's kind of cool. We don't have a Venmo address. We would advertise our Odyssey, but unfortunately Odyssey is being demoted because of its loss in the federal courts. So with that,
if you are interested in being on the podcast, we are opening up our roster for one-on-one interviews. So please reach out to us. We're in the coin tree.
yep.
Through most likely Discord. Reach out to us through there, and let us know that you're interested in being on the podcast. We do have a roster. It is filling up quick, and next year is going to be a very, very, very informative year with a lot of projects looking to get onto the podcast and talk about what they have going on.
Yep.
So with that said, let's go ahead and wrap it up.
All right. Thanks all for listening. Give us a thumbs up if you appreciate us on YouTube. With that, stack sats and hodl.
Huddle.
Adios.
Adios.